Continuing reading from Shankarabharitam in read chapter 4, text number 24. Satam Maha Bhagavatam Rajantam Kala Varshava Vishwapad Abhyadhanam Mukyam Krishna Vigrahe Satam Maha Bhagavatam Rajantam Kala Varshava Vishwambhad Abhyadhatedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe Satam Maha Bhagavatam Rajantam Kala Varshabha Vishambhad Abhyadathedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe
Tammaha Bhagavatam Chantam Kauravarshabha Rambalabhyadattedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. Rambalabhyadattedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. Chantam Kauravarshabha
Vishwambad Abhyaditat
Rambalabhyadattedam
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe
Krishna Parigrahe.
Satam Mahabhagavatam
Amma Bhagavatam
Prajantam Kauravarsabha Vishwambhadavyadattedam
Vishambhad Abhyadathedam
Yam Krishna Parigrahe
Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe
Satam Mahabhagavatam Rajantam Kauravarshabha Vishrambhadabhyadhatedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe.
Satam Mahabhagavatam Prajantam Kauravarshabha Vishambhad Abhyadathedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe to everybody. Saha Vidura unto Uddhava Mahabhagavatam, the great devotee of the Lord, Prajantam, while going, Kaurava Rishabha, the best among the Kauravas, Vishrambat, out of confidence, Abhyadata, submitted, Idam, this, Mukyam, unto the chief, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Parigrahe, in devotional service to the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. Purport. Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father Vasudev. But although junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in devotional service of the Lord. And therefore he is, there's like a feedback. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is the way of courteous dealings between two devotees. Maharaj, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Srimad Bhagavatam.
Everyone's eternal. No one's older, no one's younger. Still, he's relationships are seen as opportunities to give one's respect and follow the proper principles. It's like Lord Krishna, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whenever he would meet Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was only slightly older than him, apparently, by dates of birth and things. But Lord Krishna would pay his obeisances at the feet of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, he had to accept it in one sense because he was a little older than Krishna. Krishna followed all these principles very strictly. He gave the proper respect according to age and seniority. Balaram also, we see, Balaram he came to Naimisharanya, and the sages there, they're having discourse on the glories of Lord Krishna. And it was a very auspicious place. Speaker was Ramaharshan Sutta. And everyone, all the members there at this assembly were very happy to see Lord Balaram, and they showed great respect for him. Either they would bow down or stand up and show their respect for him. Like when the judge comes into the courtroom, all rise. Judge comes in. You haven't been to courtroom? You haven't been to a courtroom? That's good. Sometimes you have to go to the courtroom, and when the judge comes in, you have to rise. Show respect. If you don't do it, contempt of court. And you can be found guilty just for that neglect, showing proper respect. So sometimes people don't like that. Why should we have to give more respect to someone else just because he's older? Because we're living in these bodies, and there's a particular etiquette and protocol, which is not bad. It can be used properly in Krishna service, and then it doesn't become degraded. Now, in the case of Naimisharanya and Ramaharshan Sutta, he failed to offer any respect to Lord Balaram. Even apparently in his mind, he was thinking he was on the throne, or the Vyasasan, and he was respected by all, so he didn't think there was any necessity for him to show any special respect for Lord Balaram. But that was a great error on his part, and he had to get punished for that.
Shai, thank you, Maharaj. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurananitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So, Prabhupada states how Vidura was much older than Uddhava, but he's inquiring from Uddhava. Can anybody think of another time when people were inquiring and hearing from somebody who was much younger? Shukadeva Goswami, speaker of this Bhagavatam, said that he was roughly 16 years old, and he's sitting in an assembly filled with all the most advanced sages and yogis, and they're all hearing from him. Why? Because they could clearly see his position. that he is above the material conditioning and situated in the spiritual platform. So to always give respect to elders is nice, but people can be senior to us by age, senior to us by when they take shelter of guru, take initiation. They could be senior by knowledge, because as Maharaj pointed out, that we're eternal. So whatever we have now, we've been cultivating previously, not just within this life. So a wise person can see this and respect that. We could meet somebody while we're distributing books and they come to the temple and they know nothing and we have to teach them. But then within a few years or a few months or however long, they could excel and become more advanced than us because we don't know. We don't know who they are. So we should always strive to be submissive and respectful to our seniors. We should always strive to be friendly and cooperative amongst equals, and always strive to be compassionate and kind to those who are. The tendency is not be envious of those who have more than us. We're compete with those who are on the same platform, and you want to put down those who are lower than us, make ourselves feel stronger. Material conditioning. So to see beyond the material situation and see what's really going on, this is what the Bhagavatam is showing, and very nicely so. I'm just thinking about the modern school system. You go to school, you hear from a teacher, there's not so much, at least how I was raised, there's not so much respect, submissive inquiry. It's just something that you have to do. So coming from this Western world and being contaminated with this consciousness, we really have to adopt this submissive attitude towards seniors and respect. I read some quote the other day. It's by Hare Swami. He's a disciple of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, and he was saying that, I forget, but in essence that, you know, our shortcoming is that we don't have unflinching faith in the acharyas and the way that they live and presented the philosophy. Because if we understand and have full faith in the acharyas and give our lives to them, then Krishna's right there at our fingertips. They're giving us Krishna. We just simply have to take it and adopt what they're giving us, their mood, their philosophy, their culture, everything. But because we're hesitant or reluctant, then it's very difficult. We all come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles. We have different habits, different countries, different cultures. Some things can be favorable to help us cultivate Krishna consciousness. Some things can be strong impediments. So the highest principle is to always accept what's favorable for Krishna consciousness and reject whatever is unfavorable. But this is often very difficult for a neophyte to do. We want to accept what we want and we want to reject what we want. And when we're told we have to accept something we don't want, I don't want to do that. I'll do that later. We're just wasting our time, and time is precious. Time is Krishna. We should very, very much respect that aspect and utilize as much of our energy and time in Krishna consciousness as possible. If there's something that we have to do and get it over with, why not get it over with as soon as possible? Especially if we wait, it creates more pain and suffering. So if we just fully surrender to Krishna in this one life, everything we've been looking for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, it's there. It's already there. We're already connected to it, but we just don't have the vision to see that, because we carry this conditioned, this contaminated consciousness. Because what's the goal? To chant Hare Krishna, to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. What are we doing? We're chanting Hare Krishna. We're coming to see the deities. We're worshiping them. We're hearing from Srila Prabhupada. So everything that we're aspiring to, the place we're trying to aspire to get to, we're already there. We're already. The place we're trying to get to, we're already there, aspiring to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the devotee is always chanting my glories. It's satatam kirtayanto mam, always chanting my glories. It's not that we're trying to do this to get to some result where it's like, okay, now I don't have to chant, I don't have to worship the Lord, I don't have to worry about time and all these things. No, this is the same, and this was very much taught by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, you could look at his schedule and itinerary and how much he traveled around the world, how he would wake up in the middle of the night to translate and give purports to this very Srimad Bhagavatam. In the morning, he would chant japa, he'd go on a morning walk with all the devotees, and wherever he was, he'd go to some park, some beach, wherever, go for a walk, and always he'd come back to the temple. And you know what he'd come back in time for? Darshanarti. He'd never miss it. He's always on time. The devotees were amazed that they'd be walking, they're talking philosophy, they're talking things, and then Prabhupada just so gracefully would always appear at the proper time. Because he wouldn't miss it. This is the Lord. What are we trying to do? Purify our consciousness so we can see Krishna, come face to face with Krishna, associate with Krishna. But here we have the deities in the temple, but because we see them every single day, we often take it for granted. In the scripture, it says, the person who sees the deities just is made of stone. Their heart is made of stone. So this process of Krishna consciousness is intended to melt this stone-like heart, make it soft, tender. And one great way to do that is exactly this. Even if we're older than somebody or senior in some way, but somebody has something valuable to offer that we can in turn take as an offering to Krishna and excel in our devotional service, then we should take advantage. This is humility. Not that I've been around 5 years and this devotee comes in 6 months. He has nothing to offer me. I'm better in every way. Everybody is a very unique individual spirit soul. And Krishna, he's a connoisseur of these rasas with all the unlimited spiritual souls, all the jivas. You can bring pleasure to Krishna in a way that nobody else can. So can you, and you, and you, everybody. Because we're unique, we're individuals, and we're always going to remain that way. So everybody on their attempt to serve Krishna has something to offer, something to teach. Shri Gauranatai Ki Jai. Chanakya Pandit, what does he say? He says that one should, I forget the other ones, but if one finds gold in a filthy place, you should accept it. So this is a Paramahamsa, to be able to extract the nectar from something where it's seemingly not there. I remember one time I was listening to this podcast of these devotees, and this devotee is a disciple of Radhanath Swami. And I forget the details, but he said they were at some event, some place, and and they saw some significant thing happen. And he saw Radhanath Swami sit there and kind of like soak it in. He made like a mental note, and he was like, "Oh, I wonder, what he's thinking. Like he's probably going to use this in some class in some transcendental way. And then sure enough, he's giving a class and he connected this thing that they saw to some, transcendental aspect of the philosophy. So this is Krishna consciousness, to learn to see Krishna in all of our activities, no matter where we are and where we go. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, for one who sees him everywhere, then that person's never lost to him. And vice versa. So this is the art, to be able to see Krishna in all of our actions, all of our activities, all of our endeavors. Everything can be connected to Krishna. So the practice to see that is very, very helpful, because Krishna is always there. But whatever we cannot connect to Krishna, then we should reject, because we read, not entirely too long ago, that whatever is not directly connected to Krishna, know this to be the illusory energy, Maya. So very clearly we can see how everybody around is enamored by Maya. There's no direct connection to Krishna, no direct connection to God. And even when there is, it's tinged with these dharma, artha, kama, not even moksha. People haven't even, for the most part, come to that platform of realizing that this material world is undesirable. Srila Prabhupada described this whole world as an anartha, something that's unwanted. It's a burden, actually. So we try to maneuver our way through the world and find some peace and happiness, and we get entangled. So then the more we get entangled, the more stresses, the more problems, the more disease, more taxes, more bills, more obligations. Then we make more maneuvers and we become more and more entangled. Krishna, he says, Prakriti kriyamani gunai karmani sarvashaha vimudhama hankara kartahamiti manyate. So as we get entangled, we think we're the doer, we think we're in control, but based on our actions and associating with the modes of material nature, we're just being helplessly pushed and pulled around the material world. So only by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam coming from the authoritative sources, this can provoke this attraction for Krishna. And by provoking this attraction from Krishna, naturally, one will lose taste and interest in the material world. This is the whole premise of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first chapter, first canto, these sages gathered to ask questions to Sutta Goswami. And when Sutta Goswami begins responding, he says, these questions, they're the greatest, they're the most auspicious, because they pertain towards Lord Krishna. And only these questions can benefit all of humanity, all of the whole world. And by rendering devotional service, namely hearing, chanting, one develops attraction. This attraction comes in the form of transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge brings detachment from the material world. But we can very easily acquire transcendental knowledge and then attain some level of vairagya, detachment. But still, the seeds of lust for the material world are not fully eradicated. And if we don't excel and push further in our devotional service, then very easily these seeds will become watered. And by watering these seeds, weeds grow within our hearts, anarthas. These weeds are fighting with our creeper of devotional service, this Bhakti Lata Bij. And Krishna, he says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sankasteshu Vijayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Kota Vijayate. By contemplating the object of the senses, one develops attachment. From attachment, lust develops. Lust, anger, all the way to one falls down. So if we're contemplating the objects of the senses in any shape or form, anything that is contrary to serving Krishna in a favorable way, then we're just watering the weeds within our heart, which is quite literally the opposite of what we're instructed to do. If we constantly remember Krishna, then purification will be there. And from purification, one eventually will acquire taste for hearing about Krishna, a taste for chanting Krishna's names, a taste for waking up and coming to see the deities first thing in the morning. But until we have that taste, we have to force ourselves. We have to force ourselves, which by ourselves is very difficult. This is why we have devotee association. It makes it much easier to do it together. That's why this Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma, is Harinam Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord congregationally. Because there's strength in numbers. It's like birds flying in the sky, they fly in a big group. What's it called? A flock? Flock of birds? Because there's safety in numbers, but if one of those birds stops flapping his wings, then immediately he falls down. So similarly, we take shelter in the association of devotees, but we have to flap our wings. We have to do our duty. And here, this text is stressing the importance of hearing and inquiring from the proper authority. Doesn't matter if it's somebody who's younger in age, a man, a woman, whatever it may be, sannyasi, grihasta. If somebody is more advanced and has knowledge that can help us in devotional service, then we should be eager to hear. And this eagerness to hear from those souls who are firmly situated in Krishna consciousness, this is the pathway, the entry into Krishna service. What's it? In that same Bhagavatam where Sutta Goswami is speaking, addressing these sages' questions, he says, by rendering devotional service to the Bhagavat, then one develops attraction for hearing. From attraction, then all the misgivings in the heart are cut to pieces. So yesterday we were reading in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada was talking about all the misgivings being eradicated just from constantly remembering and hearing about Krishna. So we're fortunate. This is what we're practicing every single day. We might not be there of being able to just constantly get absorbed thinking of Krishna, but practice. Because sure, everybody has experience of what it's like when I let my mind wander and I think about, all the Mountain Dew I want to drink out there, or, all the sense gratification. And what it's like to think about Krishna and what Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. After the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Arjuna was distraught. He lost his son. What do you mean he lost his son? You're not your body. That's the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. But always coming back to what Krishna says, because this is the foundation of existence. It's a framework laid out very clear of how we should act to be free from all the problems in life. Okay, there's a few more minutes. I could keep talking, or maybe anybody has any comments or questions or thoughts. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Your comments in class and Maharaja's comments too reminded me of Maharaja's book, Bright Side, where he talks about the danger of pride. And I read this last night, and I thought this would be nice to share. Well, just because someone requests our advice doesn't mean that we are superior in all respects. An advanced spiritual teacher considers that his students are sent by his own spiritual master as gurus to teach him how to practice spiritual life. It is genuine humility that allows a teacher to consider his students to be more advanced than himself. But at the same time, he recognizes that he is obliged to do his duty as teacher and teach them. A first-class teacher should be able to deliver superior knowledge.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. You know, this reminds me of one story we can end with. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would lecture on Bhagavatam and many people would come. And there was one person, he'd always sit in the back and he was disobedient, kind of challenging and making a ruckus. You know, I was thinking about, you know, growing up in school, kind of have these class clowns, these people who give the teachers trouble, especially when there's like a substitute teacher. It's like all chaos ensues. So this guy was of that nature, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was lecturing. And one day, this guy did not show up. So then all of Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada's disciples said, "Oh, Guru Maharaj, you'll be so happy. He's not here. He died. He left his body. Now, you know, he's not going to be there to disturb you anymore." And he said, "Don't you all see that? That was my Guru Maharaj. That was my Guru coming as this guy to teach me to be humble, to be patient." So this is what the devotee strives to see, is that whatever's there is just Guru teaching me, Krishna teaching me how to become better, how to be more humble. When we are dealt with abruptly by somebody else, we could get angry and rebel and want to fight. Or we could say, "Oh, this is Krishna's mercy. This is Guru's mercy, giving me an opportunity to practice more humility, to practice being patient, practice being tolerant." Prahlad Maharaj said something to this effect where say if I'm walking down the street and somebody is driving down the street and they stop and they throw something out the window at me because, you know, they just are rude and they don't like the devotees or don't like me. I could get angry and upset and sad and disturbed, or you could see that this person's just acting helplessly according to their karma of how they've been driven. So ultimately, this is the Lord acting for this person, and there's something for me to learn. But why would I get upset with this person? He knows nothing. So you should tolerate what this person does and try to help them advance in Krishna consciousness. And this way, it's the most beneficial for everybody, because just getting implicated when somebody frustrates us or makes us angry, there's no benefit. We're just getting brought down to the level of the lower modes of material nature. So Prahlad Maharaj is one of the Mahajanas. He's showcasing the transcendental platform and how to live. And he very much rejected the ideas of friends and enemies and gave very sound philosophy how to see beyond that and rise above that. So if there's any other comments. Yes, Prabhu.
The Vaishnava etiquette classes, we used to do this, that when there is a devotee, he says people in three categories. One who is lower than him, one is equal to him, and one is above him. And his relation goes in that way. When someone is lower than him in knowledge, there is no age consideration or anything. But one is lower in knowledge, he is not, he's ignorant something, you enlighten him with the knowledge. One is on the same level, you can discuss with him the transcendental science with him, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, Mati Chitta Badakada Prana, Odita Parasparam. So you can discuss with him. And the one is above the person, then you have to yearn to take knowledge from him, to get enlightened from him. So whatever your knowledge is, but if a person comes to you who is higher in knowledge, then you want to take the knowledge from him.
This is great. This is real culture. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranga ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasin.